This Vision Ireland podcast contains chapter markers. If you want to skip the intro or a topic you don't like, you can use chapter markers to do so. Chapter markers are only supported in some podcast apps. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Talking Technology with VI Labs. At VI Labs, we believe technology is the single greatest enabler for people with sight loss and all disabilities. If you're looking for the latest news and conversation on tech from a more accessible perspective, you've come to the right place.
Yes, indeed you have. Hello gang, hope you're keeping well. Hope you had a good weekend. And welcome in to Talking Technology, episode 86. It hasn't been long since our last episode of Talking Technology. In case you missed it, we had Talking Technology Extra on Saturday. So you're getting loads of episodes of late. We were here last week. We were here on Saturday. And we are back again because the tech news, well, it keeps on coming. We have a packed show coming up for you over the next hour or so, because we'll be hearing all of your reactions about the Glide demo day in Dublin. In fact, it's closer to home. We will have your reactions on the Glide. Lots of you tried it out. There was loads of people came to the Wayfinding Centre on Saturday to try out Glide, and some really interesting feedback and thoughts on the device. We'll be hearing more of your thoughts in just a bit. And Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference kicked off last night. Kicked off at 6 o'clock Irish time last night on Monday. And we have our thoughts on that too. There is a total redesign coming to all of Apple's products on the software side. So we'll be telling you more about what's coming for iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Mac, TV, Vision OS, all of those things. We'll be talking about all that and more over the next hour or so. So please do stick with us. And hey, a reminder that we love hearing your opinions. We've loads of people's opinions on this show today, but we want more. So if you would like to get in touch with us, as always, there are loads of ways that you can do so. So if you want to join the conversation, the easiest way that you can do it is perhaps to send us a WhatsApp voice note. If you would like to send us a WhatsApp voice note, you can do so by sending a message to 086 199 0011. That's 086 199 0011. All you got to do is go to the chat screen there on WhatsApp, and down in the bottom corner there's a little voice message button. It's all labelled with voiceover. So if you voiceover on, you just double tap and you hold your finger on the screen until you've done recording. Lift your finger and it goes straight to us. It's really cool. So you can send us a WhatsApp voice note 086 199 0011. Or if you would like to get in touch with us by email, you can send an email to content@vi.ie. That's content@vi.ie. So however you would like to get in touch with us, we would love to hear from you with your tech news, your views, anything at all. Just get in touch on WhatsApp or by email. And to go through some of the correspondence from the week gone by, I am joined from Kilkenny by Mr. Joe Lonigan. Joe, how are things?
Hi David, I'm all good, thank you.
Excellent stuff, Joe. Now, it's important to say there is has been a loads of correspondence in on a number of matters arising. People sharing their views on the Sullivan Plus app, on chapter markers in the podcast, lots of other matters like that. But for the sake of time, we're going to push some of those voice notes over to our next podcast. But today we wanted to focus on the response to the Glide demo day that took place in the Wayfinding Centre on Saturday. Joe, I know you weren't unfortunately able to make it to the Glide demo day on Saturday, but you've heard a lot about the Glide at this point.
Yes, David, I have heard an awful lot about the Glide, and I suppose I have different thoughts on it. But after hearing your experience there, I won't spoil anything. I think things are looking up and a lot more positive, and I think it's a really interesting product, really interesting product. And let's hear what Derry has to say, and we will see how he feels about it.
Absolutely. So Derry Lawler sent us a note. Derry, of course, from Dublin. He was at the demo day on Saturday, and he had a really positive experience, Joe.
Hi, David, Joe, and everybody. Hope you're all keeping well. It's Derry Lawler here from Dublin. Well, last Saturday, the 7th of June, I trundled my way to the Wayfinding Centre, which I never knew even existed, in Glasnevin. Now, the Wayfinding Centre is used to be old Smurfit's building, for people who know it, in Glasnevin. So I got there shortly after 9, and I heard Amos Miller, and I said, wow, that's the founder. And then one by one, we were taken by Luke, the other guy that was with him, to show us the glide device. So he held it up for me, and he said, so I could feel the thing. It's quite small, and I could hold it, so felt the weight. I'm not very good at weights, maybe 10, 11 pounds weight, good sturdy weight, And then the handle was adjusted for my height, because I'm not a very tall person. And he showed me the 3 buttons, so the left, the middle, and the right button. And he says, relax your shoulders. He says, and don't push. He says, just step out with your right foot, your dominant leg. And I was holding my right hand, and the 2 wheels were on the ground. So I just started walking. It went easily forward. And then within a very few seconds, you could hear the noise of the wheels turning me right and left around stuff that was on the ground, suitcases and little chairs and couches and cushions, and it was like an obstacle course, and it blew my mind away. The walking, following it basically left and right and around, and then it brings you towards following the corridor down. It brings you right to the wall, but it breaks well before the wall and kind of backs you up a step. And I couldn't believe it. It turned around and came back, and I was quite shaken out, because I felt, oh my God, this thing, you only know how good something is, but which you haven't touched really, if you haven't hit off. With the stick, with the cane, you tap. It's like an obstacle avoider rather than an obstacle finder, opposite to the cane. But so I said, can I do it again? He said, sure. So I did it again, and I couldn't believe it. Perfect again. And then he stepped in front of it, and it braked. And what comes, the wheels lock, I suppose, and then it wheels you, kind of gives you a little push back, so you step back a little bit. So, but it's not a forceful push; it's kind of like a reflective push back, so you can walk back and push it forward, so it goes around the person. Something else complete. I couldn't believe my experience of it. It was just something incredible. I can't even put it into words. It's not, the device isn't ready, I don't think, yet. I'd love to try it in the open streets, going in my local area or even in town where I work. It's going to be incredible. I am definitely, the next time the open, if it comes up for funding, I'm definitely going to put my money down for one. I definitely am. I'm going to start saving last Friday. I have actually started saving, and I'm definitely going to get one. I'm quite excited about this device. I think people will be shocked by how good it is. That's the plus side. It's going to be incredible when it is out, but it's going to take a little while longer. I don't think we're going to see it in this country until maybe July of next year or August of next year. And my wish is that the device that they bring out is going to be so good. They just need to do software updates, like the large language model and the AI part of it. But how that talks to you yet, I don't know. But it's definitely a device. I want to be down for one of the first people to get, one of the first people in North Dublin to get it anyway. So it was great. And only for, I'm on the magazine, the VI Tech Tippets, and this podcast. I wouldn't have heard of I wouldn't have even heard about the thing coming up, because it was so unadvertised, really. So David and Joe and everybody in the team in Vision Ireland, well done for publicising it anyway, because it has been on nowhere else really, So thanks again, and talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Derry. And I think Derry is a happy camper, Joe.
Derry is very, very excited and positive for the release of Glide, but I don't blame him. He was very taken back by the way it guided him towards or around things, and he gave a really, really good description there, Derry. Thanks so much for giving us that explosive description. It was really, really lovely voice note. It's nice to hear somebody getting blown away by a device. It's a long time since I've heard anyone getting blown away by something, I suppose. But look, that's only Derry's opinion. I think people still have to try it for themselves. But that is great to hear. And nice to see Derry has a piggy bank out and he's going to fill it up.
Hey,
hopefully have the 15 or whatever it costs.
Indeed.
I won't name any prices yet because I don't know the exact price, but it's well over 1,000 anyway. Next year, Derry. Best of luck. Hope you've saved up enough, and you will be the first man in North Dublin to be brought to a public house with this device.
Indeed. You know, it's funny. So on the Friday before we did the public demos on the Saturday, staff, and I was saying this on the podcast that we had over the weekend, that, you know, staff from Vision Ireland and Guide Dogs got to try out the device a bit and put it through its paces. And I was trying it on the Friday, and the length it has developed since I tried it. I originally tried it for the first time back September of last year over in the Thomas Pocklington Trust in London. And then it, like, bluntly, it was like a remote control on a stick, a remote control car on a stick. And it had a nice kind of tactile feel to it, but it was hard on the shoulders. There were a lot of different challenges to it, and I went in maybe a little cynical on the Friday and the Saturday, but it's come such a long way. One of the things that we did was we had a number of staff line up along an opposite wall to me, and they all walked towards me and kind of scattered and simulated a crowd. And the device just weaved through them. And similar to what Derry said, one of the staff from Guide Dogs just walked directly out in front of the device. And like that, it kind of just stops. And it felt to me very tactile. It was like... I'd hit something with a cane. But I asked the person, did that hit your feet or whatever? And they were like, no, it didn't. It stopped about a foot away from them. And for me, I've got to say, and like Derry, I think it's got a long way to go, in my view. I think there's still a lot of things that it needs to develop, but they're certainly on the right track. And where I went in cynical, now I definitely see the potential that, maybe this isn't going to replace my cane for me for a while. I definitely do see value in it in the longer term, because not everybody can use, for whatever reasons, be they, practical, cultural, whatever. Not everybody's able to use a guide dog, Joe. So, there are a lot of advantages in that respect as well.
No, I really think that Leidens are doing a great job in the development of this product, because they're listening to user feedback, and whatever issues they have had, they seem to have improved them and changed the curve, so the curve is going from, I suppose, a straight line up to a positive line, so people are starting to get the feel for how this device is supposed to be used now, rather than, as you said, it felt more like a remote on a stick the last time. Now you were getting impressed by it as well, David. So I suppose the way they're going about it is definitely the right way. User feedback from a blind or vision impaired community is the only way to develop a product like this. I think you can't beat getting some feedback from people like Derry and the other Vox Pops that we're going to hear soon. So I think it's great to see this in development and be close to the product when it's getting developed like this. So I'd have confidence that they will get there and develop a suitable product to hit the mainstream blind community.
Absolutely. We should always say that, we always kind of say in Vision Ireland that, don't, if you can avoid it, don't spend your money before you get to try something like this. These are very expensive devices, and they are creating a lot of hype. The Glide devices, it's creating a lot of excitement for understandable reasons. So just be careful. Don't just, throw your money at something until you're sure that it is for you. So that may mean, waiting, having patience with it a bit. I'm definitely not buying one just yet, but it is definitely an exciting one. So as I said, lots of people came to the Glide Demo Day on Saturday in the Wayfinding Centre, and after people tried out the device, I managed to catch up with lots of them to hear their views, hear their thoughts on what they thought of the device. Some had really positive perspectives, some raised some really interesting questions. So here's what happened when I caught up with a selection of the gang that tried the Glide device on Saturday. Bobby, you've now tried Glide for your first time trying it. I suppose before I ask you how you found it, were you sceptical coming in?
Very sceptical. I think if anyone has used a mobility aid before, be it a cane or a guide dog or whatever you feel most comfortable using, you're going to have ran into various issues in the past. And I think that this is a brand new tool that we're going to be able to use in the future. There's definitely an air of skepticism, but I think it's because it's brand new and we're all kind of, who's the new kid,
Sure. So now that you have used it, do you still have that skepticism?
I think it's really good that the Glide team are here and they're kind of doing the rounds in the UK and Ireland and getting the users' feedback and input. I think it's really exciting that we're going to be able to have a say in how this is shaped and built for the future, because it is going to be quite personalized, I think, towards the individual user. So the fact that we're getting a say in how it's made, I think will be really, really beneficial in the future. So it's not that I'm still skeptical, but I think there's a long way to go. But I think I'm optimistic for the future that they're being so open and open to various partnerships, like with the different users and stuff, and all of our opinions. You can tell that they're really valuing them, and we're asking questions, they're asking questions, and there's a real kind of desire for actual understanding of what both sides wants.
You're a guide dog user primarily at the moment. Do you ever see a future where you're primarily a Glide user?
I think there are pros and cons to both. I think this would be if you're able to have this on the side, if you're someone that travels a lot. That's something that I keep on coming back to today, because you're not going to need to bring a week's worth of food with you for the Glide,
Yeah.
Or you won't need to find a spending area in the airport, or say I could bring this to Portugal, for example, whereas I don't particularly want to bring my guide dog to Portugal in the middle of summer. That's just my own preference.
Yeah.
Everyone does things differently, but I think this would be a really beneficial tool if you're someone who is doing a lot of air travel, traveling kind of on land, train, bus, car, however you do that is doable with a guide dog. Not that the air travel isn't, but I think this would be a lot less cumbersome, in my opinion. But I think that's definitely where it would come in for me personally.
So, Stuart, you've tried Glide for what I think is your second time now. How did you find the experience? How has it evolved since you tried it last?
Yeah, that's right, David. So I tested Glide when I was at CSUN in California earlier this year. It was my first time seeing it. It was very exciting. And then I came back here today. And I suppose if I was to compare the experiences, today it felt more consistent. In California, it was a little more jerky. The turns were very pronounced. But today I was walking what I felt very naturally, as I would with my cane, pretty much at the same speed as I would with my cane. Following Glide as it turned me gradually without that jerkiness. It just felt very nice, and there was an element of real freedom that I got from it.
Could you see yourself using the Glide in a serious sense as a primary mobility aid in 3, 4, 5 years' time?
I would like to think so. I'm very much currently thinking about Glide in a safe space like we are today at the Wayfinding Centre is really exciting. I'm wondering about Glide in the centre of Dublin city, where I almost feel society needs to understand Glide. Society understands what a guide dog is, what a white cane is. And I think there'll be that transition, and maybe it's us getting comfortable with society's perception of a new mobility aid. But certainly I'm very excited. I think my cane will still be in my back pocket for a while, but I'm very excited about it.
Jade, you've also tried Glide before. This is your second time trying the device, I think. So how did you find it, and how has it evolved for you?
So when I tried it back in March, in CSUN, it would have been very, very different to the experience I had today, in that it was just very twitchy, I'd say, and it pulled a lot more. But today it was definitely more seamless. It guided you around the obstacles. There was it didn't have to think. It just, you went around it, that was it. And then it stopped at a dead end. When it breaks, then it pulled you back. So you still have to think as well for yourself. Do I need to go this way or that way? Mm-hmm. So it's it's definitely it's a fantastic product, and I think once it's finished, it will definitely be one to watch.
Interesting. So you're a guide dog user. There's a lovely little guide dog at our feet here. But in 4-5 years time, do you see yourself potentially being a Glide user, and in what contexts?
I think for me, my preference has always been a guide dog. I just like that companionship. But I think if I was, say, if for whatever reason that I couldn't get a dog or whatever, I definitely would favour having a Glide device. But I also think being able to use your cane as well is no harm, just as we were previously talking about before, being able to find things that you might want to know what it is. So I think having some way of finding what might be in front of you instead of going around it as well is always good. But I would definitely, yes, I think using Glide in the future would be definitely on my list.
So Sarah, you have now just tried Glide for the first time. I suppose, what were your impressions of it?
So I am a guide dog user, and I have never really liked using my cane. I've used the cane since I was about 1.5, but I've never liked using the cane because of that. I've always found a guide dog to be an obstacle avoider, whereas I find a cane hits into obstacles, and I just don't like that in terms of mobility wise. And I found the Glide device was very much in between the two, in terms of, I think the dog has a bit more autonomy, which I like, and based on what they were saying about the progression of the Glide device, that will probably get in time as well. But at the moment, I found it's very much between the cane and the guide dog. So I wouldn't substitute out my guide dog in terms of I wouldn't replace my guide dog, but I would definitely find in situations where I can't bring him and it wouldn't be suitable to bring him, I would definitely opt for the Glide device over the cane. I found it initially very, very interesting to use.
So Glide over cane, but not yet over guide dog?
Yes, for me personally.
Okay. And you also raised a really interesting point that I think, it's probably a very early stage to have this discussion, but it's a valuable discussion nonetheless. But you mentioned a concern that you would have around, in the future, are we going to see more refusals of guide dogs, or that becoming almost more acceptable as alternatives such as Glide start to take off?
Yeah, so I already, you do get a bit of difficulty sometimes bringing your guide dog into places, and refusals in taxis, or say trying to get the dog on an airplane can sometimes be quite difficult, and you have to jump through hoops and whatever. And I wouldn't want there to ever be a scenario where they would, say, restaurants or taxis would be allowed to refuse guide dogs on the basis that there is an electronic alternative. Because I would find that, there's always going to be situations that a dog can navigate that, say AI wouldn't necessarily, just dynamic situations that can just change, and living in public spaces and just the general environment, it's so changeable, and there's like very little standardization. And I find, you know, AI might be able to manage that, but I wouldn't want to be forced into, I wouldn't want the choice to be taken away from me, because I am a guide dog user. I have been a guide dog user for over 7 years, and I will continue to be a guide dog user. Will I eventually get one of these glide devices? Maybe, possibly. There is also the cost element, in terms of the Irish guide dogs are very, very kind enough that they charge €1 for a guide dog, whereas these devices are quite a bit more expensive, and there will be a subscription fee, which might be, you know, a barrier to, say, economically disadvantaged people. So a guide dog at this moment in time would also be the more affordable choice. So I definitely feel like the choice should not be taken away from us based on, you know, dogs' access rights and stuff.
So I'm here with Agle, who works for a Lithuanian national public radio and television, and she flew in all the way from Lithuania this morning and came directly from Dublin Airport over here to the Wayfinding Centre just to try Glide. So very excited. But Agle, how did you find trying Glide? Did it live up to your expectations?
Oh yeah, it's amazing device. I felt like a sighted person. First of all, I was really I was feel something weird, because, you know, robot guides me, but after a few steps, I just like sighted people. I can go through obstacles safely. I can go fast because I like fast walking, and that's why I really waiting for this device, in order to safely go through obstacles, to safely cross the street, to safely find the safest way for me.
So you're super excited still after trying the device?
Yeah, actually, I'm much more excited when I was before, because I saw that device is really lightweight, and also it's quite small, because I thought that how, for example, go with plane, how to pack that device. And yes, I saw that it's really small device, really lightweight device, and and it's really easy to pack, easy to put somewhere if you don't need to use it. It's easy to understand device, how it goes, how to, and it's really fine thing for me to go fast. I just tried to go really fast, and you know, sometimes I feel really weird. It's like people who leads me fast and suddenly turn and go through obstacles, and it was really interesting experience. But and I cannot believe that I can go really fast.
You liked it. Awesome stuff. Agle, thank you so much for coming over. And have you enjoyed Ireland so far?
Oh my gosh, Ireland is one of my favorite countries.
Yay!
Since now, and I definitely will come back to this Wayfinding Centre, because it's really interesting concept for me to learn how to use white games, how to use things, and I definitely want to tell people from Lithuania what good thing you have in Ireland. It's really wonderful.
Absolutely, something we can be proud of. Agle, thank you so much. And there you have it. It's always great to hear the perspectives from a wide variety of voices. So thank you so much to everyone who shared their views after trying the Glide device. Lots of positive reaction in there, and some questions too. Joe, was there anything that stood out to you from that? Really interesting perspectives.
Well, I suppose stood out for me, I'm not sure. I just thought all the comments were all trending towards the positive end, whereas before, when I've spoke to people about Glide, is it was more like, it's okay, it's a long way to go. Where I think everybody's seeing now that it's kind of got the potential to hit the finish line,
Yeah.
And people can see themselves using it. I think the lady, Sarah, was the third lady. Has a guide dog.
Sarah or Jade both have guide dogs.
Yeah, Sarah. It was after Jade. Yeah, Sarah. She mentioned that it might be something she'd use on occasion. But unfortunately, I think if you do go for this kind of device, it's a landmark purchase, and there's also a subscription. So I don't think it's one of those devices you would use on occasion. It's either going to be your primary navigation aid, or it's not. You know what I mean?
To a point, like I think I could see a scenario, right? For example, where I think to Sarah's point, like, with travel or on a plane or something like that, that maybe, you almost have, like, let's say you get to an airport in a taxi, for example, and then maybe, this looks like something like, a glide setup or something like that, where, you just rent a glide like you would rent a car or something like that in different scenarios. Or perhaps you use it maybe to, in time, guide you within an environment like a shopping centre or something like that. I think there are scenarios where I would understand Sarah's point, but I think to your point, definitely considering the price of it, you would certainly, like, you couldn't afford, at least most people I don't think could afford, to spend the money. I think they're talking around $1,500 and then a $30 a month subscription, which is quite steep.
Yeah.
Like,
so David,
yeah,
that's where my point comes in. Like, I mean, if you go to the developer with one of your great ideas there of rented light, of course, maybe if that was an option, I could see that being a runner, what Sarah was talking about.
Yeah.
But if you, unless you have a bag full of resources, I mean, I don't think you use it as a secondary device. It's either going to be your device or it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but saying that our idea is does have merit. It definitely has a lot of merit. It's just there has to be another way of purchasing it if that was the case.
I mean, there's always the possibility that down the road you'd see government subsidies for things like this in a similar way to how things work with guide dogs currently, but to your point, yeah, you are right. I don't think anyone could afford to be spending 30 quid a month on this thing and, not using it, like in a similar scenario. I put my IRA subscription on pause because it just, I was like, I use it, I absolutely use it, and I see great benefits in it, but I only use it when I'm traveling for work. So like, and the amount at which I'm traveling for work, it's just not worth it for me. And I think Glide, it's going to be a similar balancing act for people, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's a case of maybe your circumstances will change. You can click go on that subscription again, and then maybe your circumstances might change again, and you can click pause on it. That's a great, I suppose, ability to have at your fingertips. But yeah, look, I think there will be changes down the line, different price model, different ways of buying items like this, and look, I think everything that came from the demo on Saturday has, to me, sounded very, very positive. And look, hopefully there'll be even a competitor down the line of Glide. Look, they can see the merit. If people are positive about devices like this, we can see more coming on the market, more developers coming out there. But I think this is definitely a runner, and it looks like it's going to, as I said, get there for hopefully their target next year. Who knows? But people really feel comfortable being guided by it now, compared to when I've listened to reviews on this before. People were a bit jittery, a bit stop-startish, were not so sure about it. Whereas now it seems to feel a lot more natural in the hand, David. I get the feeling from what all your interviewees have said.
Yeah, it absolutely does start to feel quite natural. I was surprised how quickly I felt relaxed with it, which is not what I expected, and how quickly I found myself trusting it, which is a different experience for me as a cane user. I'm used to having to trust myself, so trusting a device was slightly different, but I found myself trusting it quite quickly, which was really interesting. But yeah, so listen, thank you so much to everybody who shared their views with us. Really do appreciate it. A reminder that if you would like to share your views on Glide or anything else like that at all, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note or a message indeed on 086 199 0011. Or you can send us an email to content@vi.ie. A reminder that a voice note is not to call, so you want to use the voice message button located at the bottom corner of your screen. So moving on nicely then, yesterday, Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference is an annual event, but it began yesterday in California. And Apple had loads of new updates, including a announcement that they are changing up, firstly, their version numbers. So where before we would have had iOS 18 and watchOS 3 and all of they were all scattered around the place. Now they're unifying them under the year. So the release that we will be using in 2026, for example, is going to be iOS 26, but it will also be macOS 26, watchOS 26, tvOS 26. All of them will be unified with the same version number. So we are skipping a few versions ahead. So instead of iOS 19, in September we'll be getting iOS 26. But the interesting thing that is also coming in iOS 26, and indeed across Apple's ecosystem, is a complete redesign. The first redesign since iOS 7. This new redesign is going to feature a lot of new changes, but the main one is the introduction of a new virtual material that Apple is calling liquid glass. Liquid glass basically means that elements on the phone screen are going to be a lot more generally transparent. So things will kind of shimmer and shine a little bit more, and you will be able to see beneath items. So for example, if you're browsing in Safari, the toolbar that you have at the bottom of the screen, that will have a kind of a tint to it, but it will also be transparent. So you will see the colors that are beneath it. The same is going to be true with controls in lots of different apps and with lots of different elements. So, you know, the things like album artwork will be much bigger if you're in the music app and things like that. But the counter argument to that is that some things may be slightly harder to see. But there are loads of new features to discuss in iOS. I'll have to get used to not saying iOS 19, iOS 26, macOS 26, all of those. And Daniel and Joe are here to discuss them with me. So, gentlemen, Daniel, I'll start with yourself. You're probably best placed to see this whole new fancy liquid glass. What was your impression of it?
David, on the face of it, it's very impressive looking. You know, it's all I can say visually. What to best describe it is, it's like a raindrop on the surface of the phone for all the world, and your buttons kind of have this 3D effect. They're transparent, background comes through, but I also noticed that they're a bit smaller. They're so if you think of at the bottom of your screen, your iPhone screen is rounded at the corners, you know, a very unique iPhone design. So your buttons are following that curvature and spiral off into a circle, or, you know, a rounded edged rectangle. And for all the world, all I can describe it is, it's like a raindrop or a bubble, or even if anybody has ever used a half glass dome magnifier, the physical magnifier that you'd put down on a sheet of paper. That's what it's like to me. And, you know, for someone with, you know, for a fully sighted person, it's very impressive looking. It's slick, it's futuristic, it's bling. You know, it is bling. Yep. That's what it is. But I can appreciate somebody with low vision will struggle on this.
That's interesting.
And all I can find is, I can't find, because this is all new, right? It's come out, last night?
Yeah.
And, well, I know there was a couple of leaks maybe in the press in the few days leading up to this, but really Apple have announced this last night. We're not going to probably see it in the flesh for everybody until much later in the year, sometime around September. We'll talk about that in a bit, unless you sign up for a preview. But I think, you know, I don't think I'm not sure whether there's a way of turning this off. I have went out on social media earlier today, and I just, my initial reaction to this looks lovely, but it's going to be very. I can foresee where it can be very hard for someone with reduced vision or low vision to interact with this. And the answer I kind of got back was, it can be, the transparency can be reduced.
Okay.
Right. That's maybe a halfway meeting point, but I hope, look, we won't know until further on, until the first previews come out, whether you can turn this off altogether or not. It's something I just can't get an answer on. So I would hope that Apple will have an off switch for that.
It'll be an interesting one to see. I have a little bit of usable vision, and I do use I use VoiceOver primarily, but I do use the vision I do have for navigating and stuff, and maybe switching tabs and stuff like that. So I will be interested to see if I find it harder to see. We should specify for people to be super clear. Liquid glass is not a physical thing. This is a virtual thing that is going to be on your screen. So if you're using VoiceOver, you won't even notice this most likely. Some layouts may change slightly, but it's going to be much the same. This is more a kind of a look.
Yeah, and I will actually say for VoiceOver users, while they shouldn't really get, see any changes in it, the buttons and the icons that we're familiar with probably will appear a bit smaller, I think. Now, it's very hard to definitively say it because we're going off screenshots that we see online, we're going off videos and all of this, and I suppose until you have it in your hand, you can't say for definite. But, looking at the videos and the screenshots I've seen, I say, this stuff seems a bit smaller. Now, there are some VoiceOver users out there who will rest their finger on the screen and navigate around to find something in the bottom left or bottom center. And if that button is that little bit smaller, it's just less real estate for VoiceOver to interact with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's just no. I'm not trying to scaremonger or frighten people or anything like that. But that may be something that could hinder VoiceOver users. But I wouldn't see it as being as a big problem.
Sure. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. This new liquid glass design, it's going to be rolling out across Apple's platforms. So that's iOS, iPadOS, macOS, tvOS, visionOS, which kind of had this already to a certain extent. And also watchOS as well is getting this new kind of transparent look across all of its software. It's a virtual design. It's how things look on the screen. It's not a physical thing, but it kind of replicates glass, and Apple are calling it liquid glass. So something that time will tell as to how much we can customize it, how easy or indeed difficult it is going to be able to see. But time will tell. I want to move on because there's so many features, and I want to go to one now that, Joe, I know you are super excited about. AirPods will now be able to recognize when you fall asleep and automatically pause your media. Quite exciting, this.
I know what to assume. This is not exciting, really, but I think it's amazing that I won't have to set a sleep timer anymore. If I have my audiobook on in bed, I can just recognize when I fall asleep. Sleep timer cuts in automatically, cuts off the book, and keeps it where it was when I fell asleep. Same with sometimes I like to listen to talk radio. And this, just like things to go asleep when I go asleep. So, obviously, and when you're asleep, you probably don't want some broadcast voice in your ear talking away.
You get interrupted by the ad break, and then you're awake again. Yeah.
Or maybe affecting my dreams or something, you know what I mean? So, but I think this is a great feature. And I'm hoping, obviously, we won't have to buy a new set of AirPods for this to kick in. Whether it recognises that I'm asleep from my Apple Watch or from the sensors on the AirPods, I'm hoping it does one or the other and actually works. So that's a really good feature.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Daniel, that's something you'll be using?
I wonder, does it pick up when you're snoring and then just say, all right, this lad's nodded off?
Yeah.
Up the audio, guys.
Yeah. Well, we don't all snore. Well, just,
maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting feature, and going to be quite useful. I mean, I know that we all do fall asleep listening to, whether it's music or in particular, this is going to be useful, I think, for audiobooks and podcasts, because you don't want to lose your place. If you get to the start of Talking Technology News, you fall asleep, and then you want to hear Daniel again in the morning. You don't want to have to find your place again, and I think that's going to be,
You don't want to miss any of our podcasts, Dave.
No,
not 1 second.
Are you saying that they'll fall asleep until the news comes on? Is that, David?
I said nothing of the sort, Mr. Dunn. Nothing of the sort. In other news, live translation is coming to calls, texts, basically all of those kind of communication aspects of Apple's devices. Joe?
Yeah, this is really good. I think this is going to work on device, if you know what I mean. So that they reckon you won't have to have your calls or text sent anywhere for processing. So it'll work on device, and you'll get live translation. And for personally, I think this will be maybe good for text messages. Like for myself, if you're getting text off someone that's Spanish, straight away it'll recognise that the person is texting in Spanish and translate it for you in English, and vice versa. So I think that's actually a great feature as well, David. And let's see, it's progressing. Like we famously, I suppose, maybe vision impaired people have trouble translating stuff in quick time, if you know what I mean. So hopefully this will be a game changer. Maybe not very on the initial rollout. There's always little teething problems with voiceover and stuff with these kind of things, but hopefully in time this will be a game changer.
Absolutely. No, sounds exciting. I wonder, would it be able to translate from that kind of short code text, the TTYL, how are you? It'll be interesting to
shorthand.
See those kind of shorthand texts. Time will tell on that. But real-time translation coming to all of Apple's products as well, and other upgrades on the communications front too, specifically around group chats. So lots of improvements for group chats and iMessage. Joe, you mentioned the county colours earlier. You will be able to change the colour of backgrounds in messages, similar to how you can do so on WhatsApp.
Yeah, you could be having a group chat with your pals there about GAA or anything, the big match of the weekend or whatever. So, yeah, group chat thing, just speaking about that first, it's interesting. If you're arranging a meetup, you can get, Apple can create a poll will recognise you're speaking in a group, but not, it could be separate text messages, but it'll still recognise you're speaking to a group of people, and it will send a poll to that group of people to say, which bar or which restaurant would y'all like to meet in, and give you 3 choices, this kind of thing. So that's one feature, creating polls. As you said there, you can create backgrounds. I'm not sure what these backgrounds are going to look like, but maybe if you have a certain brand, you can put a brand behind your all your text messages, or if your team wins the All-Ireland, David, which Cork could do this year, you could have red.
Well done, lads.
Red and white back of all your text messages. I'm presuming that's what they mean by change the background. So that's another interesting one. People love doing jazzy stuff like that. Like ever since emojis and things came in, everybody's about making their messages more personal.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the handy thing about this, and Daniel, you might be able to speak to this as well, is, there's a possibility here that some people might see or be able to distinguish some colours quicker. So, it's going to possibly be easier to have, especially if you have a group chat of other visually impaired people who all have a similar kind of colour preference to you. It might be more acceptable to kind of have, lads, let's have a more accessible colour palette over here. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the possibilities are endless, and as just allude to what Joe says there, personalising things like that. It's definitely the way to go. Yeah, it's fun. It's great.
Absolutely. Lots of other little changes on the iPhone side as well, including the time potentially being a different shape on the lock screen now. So this will also mean that it's bigger for some people. And depending on the photo that you have on the lock screen, it will adapt to that. So it might also be smaller depending on what photo you were using. But hey, it sounds good. It sounds promising. And it sounds like it could be interesting, because at least if you wanted, and if accessibility was really important to you, then you could adjust the photo that you have on your lock screen to, I suppose, have a larger clock there now, should you so desire, which is really cool. So those are, I guess, some of the main bits for iPhone. We're not going to be able to cover everything. We've covered previously as well. If you go back to, I think it was Talking Technology 84, when we spoke about some of the new accessibility features coming to iOS. 26 now. We were calling it 19 at the time, but 26 now, we know. But lots of interesting stuff for the iPhone. Shall we move on to the other devices, gentlemen, or are we? Am I missing something?
No, not major, I suppose. Other devices, well, we can move on to the iPad. Do you want to speak about the voice boost? Is that going to be part of iPhone, you reckon, or is it more iPad for, we'll say, podcasts, the way Apple Podcasts, or do you want to include that more in software?
So I suppose, well, it is going to be coming to the iPhone, so we might as well include it here. Voice Boost is coming to podcasts. This will be particularly useful for those who may be hard of hearing or just need a hand in listening to voices a bit more clearly. Apple have been doing some great work on the accessibility of the podcast app in recent times. They've introduced transcripts. You can get transcripts of this very podcast in the Apple Podcast app. And we also have chapters and all of that now as well. But this is another new feature on that front, Joe, Voice Boost. So they will be able to hear us even louder.
Yeah, I think it's an improvement. It's going to be an improvement, and it's going to catch up on some of the other podcast catchers that we have mentioned in the last few weeks, like Overcast and Downcast, and those kind of podcast platforms. So it keeps Apple up with the Joneses, if you know what I mean. And a lot of podcasts are recorded in all different qualities, you know what I mean. And sometimes one person might be very low but might have poor microphone, whereas the presenter might have an amazing microphone, and it can be very annoying to listen to unequal voices, if you know what I mean. So it's a good feature to bring.
Absolutely, yeah. It's it is tough sometimes to actually get all those audio levels correct. We try our best with Talking Technology, but not all podcasts do. So it sounds like Apple are doing some good stuff here. So lots of stuff coming to iPhone. For those of you in particular, if you've got low vision, do let us know what you think of liquid glass. We'd be interested to hear your perspective on it. Do you find things that are transparent are more difficult for you to see, or do they work better? Do send us your thoughts with a voice note or an email. Moving on to the Mac. I'm a big fan of the Mac, must be said. And on the Mac side, there are some new features in the Spotlight search. You will now be able to type quick codes, kind of using the keyboard here, really. So for example, if you wanted to add a reminder, you can just put AR and then type whatever the reminder is. Or if I wanted to make a call, I could set it up that I just put MC and then I type Joe, and then it can make a call to Joe. You can set up these different kind of shorthands to create shortcuts for you, and it just makes accessing things pretty quick, really.
Yeah. One good one they showed there was you can manipulate a photograph fairly easily. Get a photograph up, then get Spotlight up, and say remove background. Yep. And it by the demo it seemed to remove the background. So that's quite a good one, like without too much hassle,
Yeah, and it shows that it's being used for pro scenarios as well. It's not just your very quick simple bits. You can do a lot with this by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a welcome feature, and I know there's a lot of people out there that love those kind of run commands, and they're similar to those run commands, so it will suit a lot of people, I think. Definitely.
Absolutely. Widgets also coming to Mac, and the live, well, widgets have always been on Mac, but those live widgets, so, you know, if you order something on the likes of a Deliveroo or an Uber Eats, or you have something to tell you, like a timer or an alarm or anything like that, those are now going to sync across from your phone over to your Mac and your other devices, in fact, as well. So your Vision Pro, your iPad, all of those, they will all be synced together on the watch as well. So lots of really cool features there. And there are some really nice things on the Mac as well around files, but we'll chat more about that in the iPad section, because the updates, I think, this year to iPadOS 26, these are huge updates for iPad in a lot of ways. And Daniel, I'll come to you on this first. An upgraded Files app, and with that, a complete redesign of how things work with Windows on the iPad and how you interact with multiple apps at once.
Yeah, no, I do have to say, for me, these are two very, very impressive things to come out in this WWDC, and I suppose the iPad OS users are going to definitely see the benefits from this. There is more flexibility in the Files app, right? So what you can do with that is you can now drag and drop files from one folder to another, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It brings kind of some of the Microsoft Windows experience into the iPad. You can also now pin a folder. So let's say, I'm thinking from our service user point of view, you've downloaded books from the Bookshare website. You want to kind of store them all in one folder. It's nice to be able to have that folder as a shortcut from the dock, so you can go straight to your books. So that's
cool.
Yeah, that's definitely one huge feature that I think is going to make life so much easier. Whether you're an avid reader of leisure books, or whether you're in school or in college and you need to quickly access where all your books are. You might not like the idea of bringing your books into a specific app that handles them. Maybe you like to have your EPUBs open up in the native iPad Apple Books app instead of maybe something like Dolphin Easy Reader. This gives you more freedom to do that. So I think it's very, very good development in that. Also the windowed
I guess app layout, if you call it that.
Yeah. It's trying to struggle for how to describe this. It's not Microsoft Windows, no, but it does make Windows out of your apps, if I can say that. You can have multiple, just like Microsoft Windows, you can have multiple instances of programs open, and they're all displayed, in like a windowed version. Similar to what it does on Mac OS. It's more along that lines. So it's brilliant. Switching over between different open apps, I think, is going to be more fluid. You can maybe have 3 or 4 bits open at the one time. It definitely just brings more of that PC feel, the desktop experience, to the iPad.
I'll be interested to see if they allow you to have 2 instances of the same app open at once. I've been trying
to find that, and I'm not getting an answer. Because again, my earlier point, this is all new. It's going to be kind of, when we get in our hands, will we be able to do this, or will it be something that it'll be released without the ability to do that? But there will be often when something like this new comes out and people say, well, hold on, why can't you do this with it? And Apple go, okay, right, next update, bang, it's there.
Maybe that's an iOS 27 feature.
Or 26.1.
26.1, that's true too. You mentioned there, some students in particular wanting to work with, maybe it's EPUB, but they want to do it using the native apps.
Yes.
There is going to be a new preview app for PDFs. This is making the jump over from the Mac to the iPad. You will be able to make basic edits to PDFs natively on iPad. Now, this is really nice, I think.
Yeah, well, you can do, probably not in file preview mode. You have to open the file. You can do your edits to PDF as well. But yeah, if you have something quickly to mark up on a PDF that you needed to mark up, that you could do from the preview window, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a step further than I think most other operating systems out there.
Yeah, which is interesting. It's weird that native PDF editing, but PDFs are very common, and for the first time, I guess, in recent years, they've started to become more accessible. You know, it used to be the case that you'd receive a PDF and you'd be like, oh no, where now you can actually work with them a little bit, which is really nice. But definitely an interesting one. And Joe, if I come to you on this one as well, the phone app is now making its leap to the iPad. Again, long overdue.
Oh, yeah, about time, yeah. Brilliant. Phone app coming to iPad. And many people have asked me in the past, why is there no phone app on the iPad? And I would say, well, you have FaceTime, but you can only call other Apple users on FaceTime. So the phone app coming to iPad, brilliant. Has your call history and all that stuff in it as well. So it's going to be more or less the same as the app on the iPhone.
And I know it's somewhat separate. Yeah, go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Like for I'm just thinking of some people who find the iPhone too small. They're maybe at home a lot of the time. Mightn't be out and about mobile too much. They might be at home. iPhone is too small, or to have a big iPad screen with the phone app and the calls coming through to that, and being able to make and take calls. And I think it's definitely a huge plus for some service users out there.
So now basically because we recently, of course, as will be noted from Tech on Tap, we also now have WhatsApp on iPad. So really, basically everything that you can do with the phone, you can now do on the iPad and more, which is really exciting,
I think it makes the iPad more viable, doesn't it, Daniel?
Absolutely. Like, for the first time now, you can actually say that, I know some people just love their small little Doro flip phone. When you're out and about, that's great. Just maybe do your calls and that. When you come back home, you can have your WhatsApp messages coming through and all that, and you can catch up. So I think it gives people so much more options now, to have it this way.
Absolutely. And I must say, it may not interest a lot of people, but the biggest upgrade for iPad for me, you can finally do sound and audio routing on an iPad. So you can set different inputs, different outputs. You can set different apps to have different inputs and outputs. For audio production, the audio production people among us, it probably won't matter to like anyone other than us, but this is
really suit you, David.
It's going to be a huge feature, especially when we're producing podcasts and stuff like this, for calling, for all sorts of technical stuff on the back end. It's going to be really, really good. I will be hoping, and I really hope you can route your voiceover audio. So direct that to different apps that maybe I can hear voiceover and the output of an app in my headphones, but we use a Shure SM7B for our mics. So my hope would be that we can work all that together and have everything kind of start to integrate nicely. But no, this is a really exciting feature for us audio nerds who use iPad, of which I am one. So definitely a massive year, I think, all in all for the iPad, Joe.
Oh, yeah, I think so. As you said, WhatsApp, phone app, it can be the all-in-one device, almost replace some laptops as well. So I think, a massive year for the iPad. Just make sure you keep those devices updated as well, because there will be a stage where it'll soon stop supporting the 7th gen. That has some things won't go on the 7th gen already. So I'd say be 8th, 9th gen soon. We don't be buying any older iPads kind of a thing. 10th gen is probably, I'd advise anyone, if you're going to buy an iPad now, just make sure it's 10th gen plus.
Actually, that's a very good point. And while you're discussing that, I actually have a list here of what what models are going to get iOS 26 when it is released. So obviously the latest iPhone out there is the iPhone 16. Definitely going to get, as is the iPhone 15 across all the 4 models there. Same for the 14, same for the 13, the 12, and the 11. Now, for anyone with the iPhone SE, it's 2nd generation SE, so I think that the 2022 version on later.
Yeah, it's either 2020 or 2022.
Yeah, it's definitely the 2nd generation of iPhone SE or later. So unfortunately, iPhone X, XS, XR, and XS Max are not on the list. So I think it's basically iPhone 11 or higher.
Yep, time to be looking for some upgrades for some people, unfortunately. But that's the game. You can kind of, like, my Apple Watch doesn't receive upgrades anymore, but like that now, I'm hoping to upgrade in September because she's getting pretty slow, unfortunately. It's you tap the screen and a second or two later you might hear the time if you're lucky. It's an interesting one. But on that note, one of the features that I will hopefully get with watchOS 26 when I do eventually upgrade my watch is a new feature for workouts using Apple Intelligence. You'll have a voice in your ear that will try and hype you up. It will tell you key information. So, let's say you start a running workout and it will say, "Hi David, you're doing a great job. You've just run your first kilometre and you had an average heart rate of whatever it is." And, it will speak to you in natural language and try and give you encouragement along the way. This sounds really cool to me, Joe.
Yeah, it is quite good actually. By the sounds of it, it's going to clone some of the devices from Apple Fitness Plus. Some of the ones people are familiar with already. So it's going to use those voices and give you a G up as you go along, as you get into your rowing workout, or if you're sitting down too long, David. Working too hard, it'll say, "Look, you've been sitting 8 hours. It's about time you stood up." This kind of thing. So it's going to be great for those people that need that little extra G up.
Yeah, I was hoping it wouldn't be the Meyer advice telling you, "Congratulations, David, you have just ran 1 kilometre."
Yeah. Oh dear. Could you imagine? That would really slow down the pace, I think.
I think it would.
Yeah, absolutely. Or it would startle you and cause you to run faster. But anyway, there you go. So there is that. And then the final feature, I suppose, that we'll chat about for today is on a device that we still unfortunately can't get in Ireland. That's the Vision Pro. They are introducing a new feature called For Your Eyes Only. It's literally a For Your Eyes Only mode. It will detect your eyes and will only show you content that is specifically open to you. So for example, if I just use Vision Ireland as an example, if we use them here, I could put it on and I'd be able to do my work or whatever. But if that device then was stolen, for example, it would check their eyes and they wouldn't be able to see any, for example, service user information or podcast stats or whatever information that we deem secure. So it's designed to be an extra security layer, which is a really interesting use case for the Vision Pro. But it will be interesting to know how it works for those who, maybe literally don't have eyes, for example. It's going to be an interesting one to think about.
It is going to be interesting, all right. But Vision, I don't have lots of opinions on Vision Pro because it's not available here. I haven't got excited about it yet. I know they're probably gearing up maybe in the future to get everything to look like you're looking through Vision Pro, as you've seen with the transparency modes that you spoke about earlier, that liquid glass and stuff like that. But what do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting feature. Obviously security security is very important to, particularly anything that's kind of lightweight, portable, mobile, anything like that. You know, you do need that extra security on it. Definitely don't want data falling into the wrong hands. I like the innovativeness of this. For your eyes only, and being able to check that, yeah, it is Joe or it is David or it is Daniel, whoever it is using the device. I think that's quite cool.
Absolutely. You mentioned there, Joe, about them wanting to use the device kind of in more and more scenarios. And there was one demo that they had with the personas. Personas are like animated versions of you that exist within the Vision OS world. And they talk about how groups, even in in-person meetings, being able to all wear your Vision Pros together and watch a movie together. And it's kind of very dystopian or something. I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But
doesn't appeal to me now. But yeah. I suppose. Look, it's. I don't think it's even big in America yet. So I think we can. Yeah, it doesn't excite me, David.
Yeah, it's not going to get big until that price comes down. That's for sure. But there you go. Or Vision Ireland give us a rise. Who knows? But there you go. Hey, listen. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Just one more point, David. Sorry, just before we exit the talk on it. Even though all this is unveiled last night, and it's going to be gone by last year's date when iOS 18 hit, it's going to be roughly middle of September. Last year it was 16th of September when iOS 18 started rolling out. So we're probably looking at in and around that date where everyone on that list of devices I read out earlier is potentially going to see iOS 26. Now, I think you yourself, David, am I right in saying you often sign up for the beta previews of it?
Yes, sometimes. I don't. I should say this is not recommended for the general public. It's specifically designed for those of us who are willing to test things that are broken. Some developers will have access to this as of today or as of yesterday, Irish time, I guess. But I won't be in the first batch. I may use the public version in time.
Public betas,
we'll need to get permission from Mr. Colin Kenny to get it on the work device again. But definitely do not do it on a personal device. Use it on a backup device if you're going to do it at all. And just be careful, because there is often bugs, especially when it comes to accessibility bugs. I know people have had serious issues with VoiceOver on Apple Watch testing betas in the past, for example. So just be aware of this. This is not
a big health warning with
Absolutely.
it. Yeah, unless you're absolutely very tech savvy, you probably shouldn't sign up for the beta previews and just wait for the general release.
Absolutely.
Which I suppose anyone who does sign up for the beta releases, the preview releases, they are, I suppose, default finders, and that goes back to Apple before the general release. So, definitely leave it up to the more experienced users out there to maybe analyze the preview software better, and everyone then just wait for the general release in September.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, thanks so much. Joe, go ahead.
Dave, can we finish on a fun one? What about Apple TV OS? A couple of features there for anyone who has an Apple TV. We're going to have a single sign-on, so makes anyone setting up an Apple TV, it will automatically log into all your devices after you set up, sign into all your devices rather to save you some time, like Apple TV, Disney Plus, Netflix, that kind of thing.
Great if you have kids.
The best, that's great for kids. And the best of all is Apple Sing coming. So we'll have karaoke on our Apple TV, and you'll be able to use your phone as your microphone, and it'll help you along sing your favourite song. So that'll be a great feature for you, David.
Are you good at karaoke, Joe?
No, but my 4-year-old is brilliant at it. Loves her Elsa, Frozen, that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that.
Top tier. Brilliant stuff. Gentlemen, thank you so much for that. And a reminder to you, do let us know what your thoughts are on all of the new features with iOS and iPadOS and all of those features. We'll have news in just a second, but a reminder of our contact details before we do. If you want to get in touch on WhatsApp, you can do so on not 1-800, that's the main number, 086 199 0011. That's 086 199 0011. Or you can send us an email, in fact, to content@vi.ie. And going back to those 1-800 numbers, if you would like to get in touch for technical support or anything like that, you can at any time call the VI Labs help desk. It's open to 9 to 5 and the team are there standing by to give you support on any technical issues that you might have. You can call that on 1-800 911 110. So that is how you can get in touch with us. Loads of ways to get in touch with us here at Vision Ireland and VI Labs. So please don't hesitate to do so. But now, though, well, it's time to cross to Daniel Dunn for Talking Technology News.
This is Talking Technology News.
Thank you, David. So, with all your latest Talking Technology News, I'm Daniel Dunn. A number of disability advocates have criticised Leinster House for poor accessibility after they were trapped in a lift during accessibility training last year. RTE report that the group sent an email describing supposedly accessible toilets that were not large enough to cater for wheelchairs, buses being refused access to drop off people with mobility issues, and a broken down lift that left 5 members of the group stranded. Lifts are extremely important for those with wheelchairs and additional mobility needs in particular, and when lifts are broken, it can lead to significant accessibility challenges. The group told the head of the Oireachtas that members were stuck in a corridor and very embarrassed as able-bodied people had to edge their way past them on their way to offices or lunch. The visit was made by members of the HSE Gold Star Disability Awareness Training Programme, who have since received an apology from the clerk of the Dáil, Peter Finnegan. Peter expressed his sincere apologies and said, "We fell well short of the standards that people are entitled to expect when they visit their national parliament. Hopefully, this will act as a wake-up call for those in Leinster House to improve the accessibility of public buildings in Ireland. What accessibility barriers have you run into? Please let us know with a WhatsApp voice note." A woman in Northern Ireland has launched a new company called Access Avenue to improve the accessibility of hotels. Shelley Cowan, who lives in Enniskillen, spent more than a decade as a wheelchair user due to severe ME and complex health needs, so has herself experienced accessibility challenges with hotels. Her new business was supported by Enterprise Northern Ireland, and she is aiming to help hotels benefit from the so-called Purple Pound, which is the disposable income of those who have disabilities. Hopefully, as this consultancy is happening, the needs of those who are blind or visually impaired will also be considered. From finding rooms to using the lift, there can be definite challenges for those of us with sight loss when accessing hotels, so hopefully those will be noted. Best of luck to Shelley on her new business. It will be interesting to see how it goes. And finally, for now, Microsoft is reintroducing a dedicated keystroke to launch the Copilot AI assistant. Pressing Windows key with C will launch the assistant on supported devices, allowing you to ask questions using either text or voice. Copilot is like ChatGPT or Gemini from Google, but it can access email, Teams messages, and integrate with other Office 365 services. The quick and relatively simple keystroke indicates a push from Microsoft, suggesting they will use the Copilot much more in the future. So this will likely be a very welcome feature for those who use the assistant often. And that's it for now. A reminder that we have loads of courses available discussing all sorts of technology at Vision Ireland, so why not sign up and learn? You can find out more information on the upcoming events section of our website, vi.ie. But for now, it's back to you, David.
Thanks so much, Daniel. And what a story there. Those disability advocates there to provide training to those in Leinster House. And we don't know if they got trapped in a lift or were stranded by a lift. But either way, they got stranded, 5 of them. Yeah. And it just goes to show, doesn't it, how poor accessibility can be in some of these places, unfortunately, doesn't it?
It does. And yeah, like Ireland is probably tougher than, maybe America and places like that, because our buildings are so old. A lot of them are listed, and to try and make them accessibility is a very big undertaking. But as rightly pointed out, if these old buildings are used particularly, as public services, in the public service, and they're to be accessible by the public, I think greater effort has to go into this, like our national parliament, that's there to speak as a voice for everybody across the country. And, to say that our national parliament cannot accommodate people with additional needs, successfully, it's a big letdown. So really they have to do better, much better.
It's embarrassing in a way, isn't it, when you think about it?
It is. It is indeed. I think it was, very poorly thought that this group were invited, and there wasn't even a scope for everything done in preparation.
Yeah. What's that song Alanis Morissette used to sing? Isn't it ironic?
Yeah. Yes, don't you think?
Should have played that in the background there for the news, David.
We'd get copyright struck by Google, but yes, you are right. It is very ironic and sad in a way as well. But what can you do? It's definitely, I think it epitomizes that we do have a long way to go. And other stuff there as well then, Joe, the Copilot key. You've been trying out Copilot. How do you find it?
Yeah, well, that key hasn't worked for me yet because my laptop didn't do any automatic update. But I'm looking forward to having a quick key to open Copilot, which will be handy. I found Copilot quite good for a few different things. Maybe helped me, I suppose, lay out documents better. Like, I mean, you could be handed a notes for a meeting or something. You can ask Copilot, make this look better. It'll put it all in bullets, put a heading on the top, maybe put some things that need to be in brackets, that kind of thing. So it's handy. You can also summarize maybe those emails. You might have had a thread of emails, but you've forgotten what the first one is about. You can say summarize this, and then at the end you go, oh yeah, that's what it was all about. So there is handy things it can do. You can do all the usual fun things as well, like write poems about little subjects, Paddy's Day or whatever you're interested in, and it can jot up a quick poem for you. So there's loads of stuff you can do with Copilot. It is new enough. We're only getting used to it, but I'm looking forward to chatting to people soon about AI and ChatGPT and stuff, and myself and Chris will be doing a little quick talk on the 24th of June as well. So it's quite interesting, David.
Absolutely.
Just saying, another interesting thing is that keystroke Windows C used to launch. Can anyone remember? Cortana.
Oh, yeah. Right.
That's what it was.
There you go. Cortana.
So it's a resurrection of Cortana. Well, the child of Cortana, we'll call it Copilot.
Absolutely.
So Cortana originally came with the very first Windows 10 1504, 1509. When Windows Key and C used to launch Cortana, but Cortana was horribly, I don't know whether it was just my accent, but just never understood you.
Yeah. And now it seems poor Cortana has been brutally killed off. I noticed that some other Copilot commands have co-opted some of the keystrokes from the Microsoft Power Tools. So that's interesting as well to note. Or Power Toys. What's that? Is that what that's
Power Toys? Yeah,
Power Toys. That's what it's called.
Actually, we should cover that in in an upcoming episode. Power ties is a very, very good feature. There's one particular, think of power ties as in plural. Yeah, it does lots of ties in it. Now I probably use about one or two. My favorite one is the text extractor. So somebody has sent you, text is just text in a photo or text in a poster, and you want to kind of reuse that text. You can quickly select it and copy and paste it out of a photograph of text rather than digital text. Is, you know what I mean by that? So
Yeah,
it'd be just
absolutely.
like if somebody scanned a PDF, a page of a book, and you really wanted that text got out, a text extractor can do it. Does a fairly good job. So it's an OCR tool basically at the end of the day. But it's brilliant. Like, you can just select the text and copy it into the clipboard, paste it into Notepad, Word, wherever, and you have it.
There you go. There you have it.
We'll
Brilliant
do
stuff.
something on that in the future.
We absolutely will. And I think we did touch on it before in a newsletter article as well, I believe. So there are resources online, but definitely a podcast in that one of these days. We might have to revive the quick picks section for that one. But Daniel, thank you so much. Joe, thank you so much. And thank you so much for listening. We've had a bit of a longer show, a packed show today. So thank you so much for sticking with us. A reminder, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do so on WhatsApp 086 199 0011. You can send us an email to content@vi.ie, and we have loads of resources on all sorts of other things here at Vision Ireland. You can sign up for our Tech on Tap newsletter or any of our upcoming training courses, including that one that Joe mentioned with himself and Chris. That's coming up later in the month. You can sign up for that on our website too. And there is a whole lot more online, so do visit our website vi.ie. But for now though, thank you so much. Hope you've enjoyed this increased frequency of podcasts. Do let us know what you think. Should we be doing this weekly? Dare I say it? Do let us know any of the thoughts that you have. You can send us a contact by WhatsApp or email. And for now, that is our show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you very soon for another episode of Talking Technology with VI Labs. See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Talking Technology podcast with VI Labs. If you'd like to support our show, please visit vi.ie/donate. Talking Technology is proudly sponsored by IA Labs, the market leader in digital accessibility services. IA Labs, digital inclusion, your legal obligation.